All right. We always start this brand new book of Bamidbar, the Torah portion, the Torah book called the Desert, before the giving of the Torah. Question is, why is this a Torah portion we read before the giving of the Torah? What does Bamidbar mean? You know, Avramo?
It means more in Israel.
It's a desert.
In desert.
It's a desert. Yeah. And the question is, why do we read the book about the desert? Why is this book called the desert? Why is the whole book of Torah called the desert? And why do we read this book before we get the Torah? So I'll tell you. It seems the desert is something which is completely deficient. It's a place where there's just sand. What's in a desert? Sand, wind. You can't live there, right? So why would we have the desert? Why would the whole book of Torah be called the desert? And why do we read this book about the desert before we get the Torah? And why did we get the Torah? Hashem gave us the Torah. He gave us the Torah in a desert. Why didn't he give us the Torah in Israel? It would have been much better to get the Torah in Israel. Wouldn't that be better? So I'll tell you why. So when Hashem gave us the Torah, it says he gave us the Torah. There was fire, there was smoke, there was a great voice. Velo Yasaf. That's the words the Torah uses. Velo Yasaf. What do those words mean? There's two explanations which seem to be contradictory. One explanation is it was a great voice and it never stopped. It continues to always go on. That's one explanation. Another explanation, as Ibn Ezra says, it will never be repeated. It will never happen again. It was a great voice once and never again. It will never happen again. The Torah will never be switched. This was one time, will never go, will never happen again. These two explanations seem to contradict each other. First explanation is his voice is always going. It's always going. It's never stopping. But the second explanation is it happened once and it's done and it'll never happen again. So, and they're both explanations of the same words. You have to understand how do these two explanations come together. To understand this, we have to first explain a medrash. Medrash says this: any Torah insight that will ever be discovered, called Talmud Vasek, any Torah scholar that invents a new idea in Torah, it was all given to Moshe Rabbeinu at Mount Sinai. That's the words of the Talmud. That sentence seems to be a contradiction because it says anyone who invents a Torah teaching means that it's their own invention. They made it up. And then the end of the sentence is it was already given to Moshe Rabbeinu at Mount Sinai. Is it a new invention, or was it given already to Moses at Mount Sinai? Which one was it? Other thing, every day before we begin to daven, we say, "May the temple be rebuilt and give us our portion in your Torah." What are we asking for? The Torah is given already. Hashem already gave us the Torah. What are we asking that we should have our portion in the Torah? What does that mean? Wasn't the Torah given already? So there's a bigger question. It says in the Talmud that Moshe Rabbeinu was writing the Torah and he was writing crowns in the Torah. And the Talmud says the Moshe Rabbeinu asked Hashem, and Hashem was instructing him to make these little, the crowns are Avramo? Those little crown what's the word?
Little dots.
Little dots, little like lines, top of each letter. He asked Hashem, why do you need these things on top of each letter? Why do you need these crowns? And Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, and after a few generations, there'll be someone named Akiva ben Yosef, and he will be able to discover from each of these crowns mounds and mounds of new Torah laws. Moshe Rabbeinu was very impressed, and he asked Hashem, "Can I see him?" And Hashem says, "Yes, you could see him." And Hashem showed him Rabbi Akiva teaching the Torah. And Moshe Rabbeinu was sitting in Rabbi Akiva's class, and he can't understand. And then one of the students asked Rabbi Akiva, "How did you discover this new insight you just told us? Where did this come from?" And Rabbi Akiva said, "This it began as a tradition from Moshe Rabbeinu on Mount Sinai. And Moshe heard that, and then Moshe Rabbeinu, Nocha Daita, he felt better. That's the story in the Talmud. But this story doesn't make any sense also. We have to understand. Rabbi Kiva said whatever he got was from Moshe Rabbeinu, and yet, although he got it from Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe Rabbeinu himself couldn't understand it. If it came from Moshe Rabbeinu, then how come Moshe Rabbeinu didn't understand it? How come he couldn't follow along in the class of Rabbi Kiva? If it was already given to him, he should have had it. He should have known it. What does it mean that he couldn't understand it? So the answer is this. There is a concept called klal uprat. Klal means the general picture, and prat means the details. The details. So you could have, let's say, have a general picture of something. You could tell someone this idea that you have, and they could tell you a detail that you yourself didn't know about this general rule. You may have thought like you have the whole idea very well. The other person didn't know this rule. The other person didn't know this rule of life that you knew. You tell this person the rule of life, and they tell you something like, wow. Although it was included in what you told them, it was somewhere that detail was there. But it's like a big house. Many things in the house, but you may not know every single nook and cranny in the house. You know the general picture. You got the house of the idea. Ideas are like houses. You have the general house. Doesn't mean you know what's going on in every room. Just like this is true for a house, so too it's true for ideas, and so too it's true for the Torah exactly. That's how it is with the Torah. The Torah is a revelation of Hashem's wisdom. Hashem, God gave it to Moshe Rabbeinu on Mount Sinai. In that revelation, in that transfer of wisdom that Hashem gave Moshe Rabbeinu, within that, every single Torah discovery was contained within that. The potential to discover all the insights of Torah that will ever be discovered was all there. It's all included within that general revelation that Moshe got him outside. So that's the meaning of our request. Give us our portion in the Torah. Everyone has a connection to the Torah. That's why it says that we're supposed to buy a letter in the Torah. We're supposed to participate in purchasing a letter in the new Torah. We're supposed to do this because everyone's life is connected to another letter of the Torah. The life of every soul is connected to one of the letters of the Torah. That's why the word Yisrael, which means Jewish people, that word is an acronym for the words. There are 600,000 letters of the Torah because every Jew has their own letter in the Torah. And just like every Jew has their own letter in the Torah, every Jew has their own insight in the Torah. Everyone has their own way that they could discover new things in the Torah that no one else can. Everyone has their thing in the Torah that no one else has. So that's our request. It's saying, give us our portion of the Torah. Let us discover the part of the Torah that we're meant to discover. It's there in the Torah, but it's a wondrous thing that every Jew has this ability to discover something in the Torah that no one else did. This is the meaning of the story in Gittin, the Avav Beis, where it says that Aviatar once met Eliyahu, and he asked Eliyahu, hey, what is Hashem doing right now? He speaks to the prophet of God. He asks the prophet of God, what is Hashem doing? It's a good question, right?
Yeah.
So Eliyahu says, he's learning Torah. Oh, really? He's learning Torah. How does that work? So Eliyahu continued. Hashem is saying, Evyasar, my son, Evyatar, my son, he's saying this. Yochanan, my son, he's saying that. That's how Hashem studies Torah. That's what it says in the Talmud. What does that mean? Rabbi Evyatar is not inventing the Torah. Hashem gave us the Torah already. And yet Hashem is studying the Torah. Hashem is saying, Evyasar, my son, Yochanan, my son, he says this. Everyone is given the ability to reveal something new in the Torah, and through this to connect to Hashem. The Hebrew word for creator is the same root as the word for being creative. When a Jew discovers an insight in Torah that wasn't before revealed, and he reveals it, he is connecting to the creator of the world, the creator to Hashem. And this is something that Hashem gave every single Jew. That's why we find the amazing thing. One of the greatest Torah scholars ever was Rabbi Akiva Eger. Akiva Eger asks questions. And sometimes he writes about his questions that these are good questions. Tzarich in gadol means you need to learn a lot to understand the answer to this question. And sometimes a little yeshiva boy, he's 14 years old, and he just flips out an answer. And it's a good answer, it's a right answer, and it's a correct answer. How's that possible? Rabbi Shimon Zalman Auerbach, he said, how do you know if something's a true answer? The way you know it's a true answer is this. He says, if someone tells you, hey, there's a hole in the wall, you have a hole in your wall, and you're like, I don't see a hole in the wall. And you look through at the wall, you can't see any hole in the wall. You look, oh, there's the hole. When you say there's the hole, you no longer have the question, where's the hole? You see the hole. There's no question anymore. The similar way Shimon Zalman said, if you have an answer to a question in Torah, and you can't understand what the question is once you hear the answer, that's a good answer. That's a real answer. If once the answer is given, it's like, oh, I can't figure out how to ask that question anymore because I don't see a question. Then you know you have a real insight in Torah. That's a true insight in Torah. So this 14-year-old boy is able to answer the question of Akiva Eiger. It can happen, and it happens all the time. And why is that? And Hashem gave every single Jew the ability to understand the Torah uniquely. Everyone has their own thing. And not just for yeshiva students, a 14-year-old boy, but sometimes you have people attending a Torah class the first time in their lives, and a rabbi is repeating an idea that he studied 100 times. And one guy in the class makes a comment, it says something, and the rabbi goes scratching and said, wow, amazing. That happens. Happens all the time. Because every Jew has their own portion in the Torah. Everyone has their part in the Torah. And this is also the meaning of when it says in the Talmud, every day the Torah has to be new to you. It doesn't only mean that you should feel like it's new, but it also means that every Jew is meant to discover something new in the Torah every day. When we say the blessing before starting the Torah this morning, what do we say? Blessed you, Hashem, who gives it there. It's brand new. Hashem just gave it to us. And so too, we're supposed to discover new things in Torah. Every day, books come out. New books of Torah come out every single day. Not just new books of Torah come out, but more new questions of Torah that are never asked before are asked. Why new questions of Torah are asked? Because new scenarios are happening that never existed before. There's new questions about, for example, you send an email on Friday, it gets there on Shabbos in some other part of the world. Can you send the email? And all kinds of new questions are coming because of all of the development of science, and new questions that never existed before. One scientist, a religious scientist, had made the following comment, interesting comment. He said, if you study a book on geometry, and you read the book, you read it 3 or 4 times, you know the book, then you're done. You know the book, it's studied. But you study a book on Torah, and you study the Torah, and the Torah has the answer for the question that comes up because of scientific discovery today. The Torah has a way to address this question, as Ben Bagbag. Ben Bagbag said, turn it over and over, look into it, you'll find it's all in there. It's all in the Torah. The Torah is infinite. The Torah is infinite, and it's all in the Torah. So it's possible that a scientist discovers something new, and yet a rabbi is able to answer the question. The rabbi can't give his own answer. He has to find the answer in the Torah, and it's in the Torah. Because in that wisdom Hashem gave us, there is infinite depth, and it's possible to continuously, forever, to just probe deeper and deeper in the Torah. So this answers our question. Our question was the Torah given just one time, or is it something that goes on and on and on? The answer is this. Yes, the Torah was given only once. Torah will chas v'shalom never be changed. The Torah is the Torah of Hashem, it's forever. It can't be changed, it's God's words. On the other hand, there is infinite wisdom in there. We'll always discover more and more in the Torah. It goes on and on. This explains something else. Shalom Aleichem. Davi, just in time. L'chaim v'rach. This will help us understand something else. Hashem gave us a Torah. It says the 10 Commandments were given to us engraved on the tablets. So when they were engraved on the tablets, it says a few miracles happened. Miracle number 1, the way they were engraved wasn't just that they were engraved on the stone, but it went all the way through. So when you read it though, on the other side, you're able to read it as if it was the same way it was on the other side. It wasn't backwards. That's one miracle. Second miracle is there's certain letters of the Torah which are circular, it's like a samach, like a final mem. So if it's completely circular, it goes all the way through. It shouldn't be able to stand up, right? That piece in the middle should fall. But the miracle was it stood. So the question is, why did Hashem make this miracle? There's a rule that Hashem doesn't make miracles for nothing. The God doesn't make miracles for no reason. Every miracle Hashem does is for a purpose. What's the point of having this it's being engraved from one side to another and be able to write on both sides? What's Hashem telling us with his feet? The answer is this. There's a difference between letters you write in parchment and letters that are engraved. When you write a letter on parchment, so you don't need to change the parchment. Parchment stays the way it is. The letter's attached to the parchment. The parchment is what the parchment was before, it just has a letter on top of it. But to engrave a letter on a stone, you need to change the stone. The stone has to be changed. And it takes effort. And it takes effort to make that change in the stone. And it says in the Talmud, person may ask as a Talmud, does God care if we slaughter the animal from the neck or from the back of the head, from the front of the neck or the back of the neck? It says in the Talmud answers, Hashem gave us the commandments to purify us. Just like Hashem gave us the 10 commandments engraved on stone, so the Torah is meant to make an impression on us. It's meant to change us. It's meant to give us something. So we're supposed to be different. Supposed to be changed by the Torah. And everybody has a empty space. Everybody has something in them that's not the way it's supposed to be. An empty space means like deficiency, anger, arrogance, lust, greed, whatever it is. We all have our stuff. So Hashem gave us a Torah that should be engraved in our soul so that we should be able to correct that issue that we had before. Just like everyone has the ability to discover new insights in Torah, so too everyone has the ability to, Hashem created every person with their own path to correct themselves, their own problem that Torah solves. Just like everyone has their own way to discover new insights in Torah, so everyone has a way to, the Torah specifically addresses them and their issues, and they have their own creation in Torah. They create something new in Torah because the Torah gave them something uniquely that didn't give anybody else. When I use the Torah and the Torah's wisdom, and that it helps me correct my issues, so I have discovered a new light in Torah, and that's just not just the one light in the Torah, one little light, but that affects the world as well, because the world's connected to the Torah and connected to the Jewish people. So when you elevate your section of the Torah that's for you, it also elevates the world. So this is the meaning of when Rabbi Yasser asked Elyonavi, what is God doing? And he said God's studying Torah, and God is saying, my son Yasser, he said this about the Torah. My son Yochanan is saying that about Torah. That's how God studies Torah. Everyone has their vantage point, their light that bring the world. That's true for the great Tanaim, and it's true for every one of us. We have our own insights in Torah. But it's also true to say that each one of us has a different way of bringing light to the world through correcting ourselves through Torah. Just like Rabbi Yochanan had a new insight in Torah that no one else had, so too each of us has our own way that we take the Torah and we perfect ourselves, we elevate ourselves through Torah, and we bring a new light to the Torah. So Hashem says, Chaim Peretz says this about the Torah. Avram says this about the Torah. David says this about the Torah. That's Hashem says. What is God doing if you're Elyonavi? So Elyonavi says Hashem is saying, my son Avram says this about the Torah. Everyone has their own way they're revealing Torah by them applying the Torah and engraving themselves, engraving in their soul something new in the Torah that wasn't there before. And it takes effort. Everyone has, so to speak, everyone has different fingerprints, right? So our fingerprints are the things we touch. Similarly, we all have, in the world, we all have our way we do things. And it's unique. We all put on the same film. We all have our own fingerprints in the film. We all have our own experience in the film. We all have our own story how we put on film. You have a different story, different fingerprints in the film. It's different. Amanda Futafas, and Rabbi Yitzchak Kogan, Gesund, did a hard time in Soviet Russia for spreading Judaism. And they never didn't want to let Rabbi Yitzchak Kogan leave Russia for a long time. But eventually, the Mendel and Rabbi Yitzchak, they both came out of Russia, and they led a Hasidic Fabring. And they were talking about the sacrifice they had in Russia. They were just explaining the difference between the sacrifice they had in Russia to the way Torah is observed today. So Yitzchak said, I'll tell you the difference. You keep Torah here, you keep Torah there. It's the same, but I'll tell you the difference. In Russia, everything had a price. You could teach your child Torah, you could. It cost 10 years in Siberia. You could have massive Pesach, because everything had a price. Here, the prices are a lot cheaper. That's what the Yitzchak said. The Mendel said, Rebbe, the sacrifice the Americans have for Torah in our generation is a lot greater than our sacrifices. I said, why? Because they have freedom. They have absolute freedom. Whatever they want, they have a complete reign. Whatever they want to do, they could do. And no one's telling them what to do. And our fingertips, we could chas v'shalom bring things into our soul that could damage us forever. We have at our fingertips things that no one can say anything to us. That challenge in a way is harder. There's unique challenges every generation has. Generation of communism. Many Jews were swept up with the fever of communism. There was generations of the Crusaders. Every generation has their unique thing, and every generation has their contribution, their light they bring to the Torah. Just now, Mendel Greenfeld, he shared the following thing just happened this year. Right before October 7th, this Chabad boy was going around with the Lulav and Esser, asking people to Lulav and Esser in one of these kibbutzim. And he asked one boy to put to the Lulav and Esser to make the blessing. Lulav and Esser, the boy's like, I don't want to do it. So this Chabad young man says, I have an idea. Wouldn't this make a great selfie? Look at this. You and Lulav and Esser, like, think about that. Let's put that on your social media. All your friends will. Won't that be interesting? No, that's true. It would be interesting. Just pose, hold Lulav and Esser, and be a great selfie. Okay, no problem. Let's do it. Fine. Takes Lulav and Esser, do a selfie. And this man, this Chabad man, he forgot about it. I mean, he didn't forget about it, but he said, after Sukkot, I'll send it over. After Sukkot, he was busy. He was during Sukkot. After Sukkot, I'll send him the picture. But then came October 7th, Sukkot Torah. This boy was one of the people killed. And he wanted to go visit the family. He found out the family was. He went to, and he came to the family's home. They were discussing cremation. And wasn't religious at all. And they said our son wasn't religious either. So why did we do this whole thing with Jewish burial? The body was discovered, but why do we do Jewish burial? Well, he wasn't into it. We're not into it. But also cremation finished. So when he showed him the picture, of him standing there with the lulav and the esrog and the yarmulke and the smile, and they saw, like maybe he wasn't into it, maybe he got into it, maybe he touched something, maybe there's more about their son and more about themselves that they don't know. They discarded the plan of cremation, Baruch Hashem, and he was brought to Jewish burial. So we all have our own niche, our own mission, and our own way of doing connecting to Hashem. This explains our question: why was the Torah given in the desert? And why did we the Torah portion about the desert specifically for the giving of the Torah? Why this coming to the Torah portion is called the desert? The whole book of Torah is called the book of the desert. What's the meaning of the desert? Here, the desert is that every one of us has parts of our lives like a desert. Because you can't live there. Sand, it's wind, it's empty. There's no life there. God wants us to bring life to those places. The Torah was given for our desert. The Torah was given. Everyone has a unique way of connecting to Hashem by bringing the Torah to that part of themselves, which seems to be uninhabitable. Yet the Torah, the light of the Torah, Hashem tells us this is going to shine a light on that part of yourself. Hashem, I'm giving you the Torah. I'm going to engrave the Torah into yourself, and because there is something in the Torah that is a gift to you personally, that will allow you to be who you're meant to be, until you could have your letter in the Torah, your unique light that you're bringing the Torah. You'll bring the world. And the main thing is that we need the light of the coming Mashiach, and need today, need immediately, and this is how we're going to make it happen. Having light, each of us in our own way, and not looking at ourselves and being embarrassed of ourselves and saying, "Oh, this is terrible." But on the contrary, that part of ourselves which we're supposed to embarrass of, Hashem gave us a Torah for that part of ourselves as well, and that's maybe this is why it says about Mashiach. And Mashiach is called a one of someone's tzara, someone's a great disease. Something's the most ugliest thing in myself. That's how if I look at that part of myself and I'm not embarrassed to try to change that, and I could discover a greater light than anything else in myself. All the things that I'm doing that on the surface are good. It's great, but specifically the hardest things in myself, and I'm not embarrassed to. That's where my Mashiach is hiding. That's where my light is hiding. That's where my light of the Torah is hiding. L'chaim, l'chaim. Mashiach. Immediately, this is the time. This is the time we can see. It's a time. Let's open our eyes. We can see this is the time of Mashiach. It's happening. L'chaim, l'chaim. Any questions?
Thank you.